Oh, yeah?
Okay.
Oh, maybe I'm gonna wait outside.
All right, I'm going to call to order the Conservation Commission meeting of August 19th, 2020. The first thing I want to point out is that the agenda that we're working from tonight is the one we have to use because this is the one that's posted. It is a different one that was sent in our packet.
Right.
So there were a couple of things that were on the ones that were sent in our packet that we can't do tonight. So we'll have to put them on the next agenda.
Yeah.
All right, so starting off, the first thing is appointment discussions. Patrick Berard, work at 110 High Street.
Yep. Well, we went and saw him today.
Yep.
And he wants to cut some trees and maybe do a pool. And anyway, so there's an intermittent stream on the left-hand side of his property and a little isolated wetland that had shown up on an old 2015 plan when the house was built. So we told him if he wants to go ahead and do any more work, he has to get the wetlands delineated again and get a new plan and then come show us what he wants to do.
Yeah, and we
and he very agreeable. Oh, and then we did talk about there's a couple trees there. We said that he could cut because we thought they were going to be a safety issue.
yes, they certainly were. They were
within
30 or 40 feet of his home and 80 feet high.
Yeah.
Including a big pine that
looked
was
like they were
dying.
Dying, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so, okay, that's fine.
Yep.
He wasn't going to do any work anyway right away, but getting the new delineation will be good. Then
Right.
we'll have to go back and see exactly what they found. It was hard to discern with all the growth.
Yeah.
What was there. Okay, so that's that. Next item is the potential violation at 134 Main Street.
Yeah, we had sent a letter of violation there for, remember we peeked in the bush and saw that we thought something was going on near South Meadow Brook. He called me right away, right after he got the letter, said that he couldn't make it to the meeting. He was gonna come and just said, call him and we can go over and do a site visit. He said all he's doing is his goats. So it's goats are there. So he cleared an area for his goats. But that's what he said.
Well,
so we'll have to see.
Well, he fenced in an area and made a barn for his goats, but yeah, they're for his goats. No.
Oh, was there a barn there? Oh, okay.
Okay. I'll have to go take a look.
That's good.
Hey, goats have to live.
We have goats, they just ate everything that was in the way and made their own space.
The goats come to the meeting.
They cleared their own way. You don't have to clear the trees for that.
They did.
I like goats
I like goats.
for friendship and for eating.
Yeah, but that's not
No, I mean,
allowable,
no.
unless he's got a farm plan and a 61A.
Right, so I'll call him. We can set
Why
up.
don't we do a site visit? Bring some goats now.
All right, next up in business is South Meadow Village trimming of shrubs.
Oh, yeah. I went and met with the project manager at South Meadow Village. And you know the pond that we went out and looked at?
Yeah.
Yeah, they just want to trim the tops of the trees. There's a couple of people who live out there and they want to be able to look at the pond. So it wasn't a big thing, but they wanted to make sure it's a new person, and they wanted to make sure that they let us know. And
All right, well, they did that last year too.
yeah, we had been out there before, yeah.
Okay. That's fine, they seem like good stewards. of
Yeah,
that.
oh, definitely, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's not an issue. The minutes, the agenda states no COC requests.
It does, doesn't it?
It does.
Okay,
So
we can't hear these things.
we can't do the two that we looked at, or the one we looked at.
Forgot about that, okay. That's okay. We'll do it on the second.
So these two that are on here were not put on,
They weren't put onto the
website?
revised,
No,
no.
they were not on the website, nor was the second item under business.
The ad hoc committee.
oh, yeah.
What the hell?
So which one of these is revised? Because neither one of them
The-
says revised.
The one, this is revised, this is the newest, this is what should have been posted.
The one in color.
Yes.
I printed this at home, that's why it's in color.
Yeah, and that you got from the email.
So
Yes.
that's,
The packet.
so that's the wrong
What
one.
was in the packet was not put on the website.
Awesome,
So we have to go back to the original one that was put on the website that didn't.
which is this one.
Yes,
Right.
that's what was posted.
Oh, I didn't even.
Are there people here for these two COCs?
Yeah, no. I don't think they really needed to come
No,
anyway,
157 North Main and 15
Yeah.
Brockton Ave.
but we
So-
we did do the site visit, so they'll be all set for the next
Okay,
meeting.
so we can
And
put
just let
them
know.
off then.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, now, I'm gonna ask you a question because you're good at,
Very little, but go ahead.
the rules of meetings. We were going to appoint two people to the ad hoc committee. Can we still discuss the ad hoc committee
You can't even discuss it?
as something that was,
It would be inappropriate. Because the ad hoc committee's already been established by the select board.
Yeah.
okay, but not everybody here may know about it.
Right. Well, they can all know about it, but we really can't discuss it, because it's not an agenda item.
Okay,
I mean, you're the chair, you can do whatever you want, and I don't
Well-
anticipate someone filing a complaint against it.
okay.
I would never see that happen, and frankly, what would be the argument if a resident didn't like the fact that you appointed Dan? No,
Well, I'm
that's
not
you're
talking about
taking public
appointing
comment,
people.
So,
I'm just, because Dan was at the meeting, select board meeting, as was I.
right,
You pretty much know what happened there.
yeah, I know what happened.
Jim may not.
I left early.
So we could just discuss it and
meeting
then
was
vote
this?
on it next
It's a
week.
select board.
Select board meeting
Oh.
in early August. So-
When is their meeting? When are they looking for an answer? Is this, because we can do this, you can.
No, they don't meet again till after we meet again.
Oh, then we
It should
should
be
put
the
it off
7th.
till we meet again.
Okay.
So,
That would just be fair.
so we can select the two members the next,
That would-
Yeah, we'll
that
select
would
the
be
two
fair.
members, but I would like Dan just to give a brief explanation to Jim of what this was,
yeah, we can do that.
So there's,
just for
Yeah,
information.
you can do that.
Yeah,
yeah, so there's been an obvious need over the years for maintenance of conservation properties that the town acquires. And there hasn't been a proactive effort in terms of maintenance of those properties once acquired. Now, through the periodic Eagle project, or once in a while when another group may want to do a good turn for the community, there have been some efforts made, but nothing consistent and nothing that isn't going to die in the vine within one season. So the purpose of this is to bring about both awareness of the conservation properties that we have as a resource for both recreation and just for the education of our environment, for families, for everyone. And it's basically a group that's going to get together to talk about some ways that we can maintain the resources that we have.
and publicize them. Let people in the town know where conservation lands are, because they may not know this already. The group would be made up of 9 people. Sarah Hewins would represent the select board. There would be 2 members from the Conservation Commission, 2 members from the Agricultural Committee, and 4 members at large from the community, one of which was suggested to be in education, someone in education.
Yeah, this is something that I know myself, along with Scouts, along with some work I do with Mass Wildlife, we've talked about having, just a bunch of volunteer groups that can take ownership of a section of trail, and even have some signage saying, this section of the Blue Trail at the Cole property is maintained by Girl Scouts of Carver, and so forth. So there's some ownership, some connectivity, and some self-policing of these properties as well. So it's all in all a good thing.
Yeah.
And there's money in the budget for maintenance of these properties, and it doesn't include anything to do with that land acquisition fund.
Yeah.
There is separate funding.
Yeah, this is set to be a volunteer-driven vehicle to exercise both the use of those funds, but also with in-kind donations, whether it be signage from a given company, but typically it's going to be just like your Sierra Club style cleanup crew. But these crews will also be educated as to how to properly maintain trails. It's not just picking up trash. It's actually understanding how to maintain trails and how to develop them
This-
for use.
This group would be strictly
Advisory.
advisory, giving recommendations. They
As
would
long
have
as they
no,
can't overrule the sitting commissioners.
no, they have
that's
nothing to
fine.
do with that. They can't spend any money.
Good.
All it is an advisory committee to look into what can be and can't be done to enhance the use of conservation land and maintenance of it.
So they can't do anything with money?
No,
You said.
they have no power to do that. It's all
That's a good thing.
recommendations.
Yeah.
All right. Next up
There's
is,
chairs, come on in, there's empty chairs,
yeah, you can move them around if you want to
wherever you're comfortable.
get your
sitting
6
is
feet.
fine.
All right, the minutes, I think we've got a couple of minutes before our first hearing, so
We do.
we want to look at the minutes
I have a correction.
from July 8th.
Yeah. Mary Ann, under business, Mr. Jermaine made a motion to have Mr. Now as vice chair. I believe that motion was made by Mr. Moore
Okay.
and seconded by
Yes.
Mr. Badger.
Yeah.
It was made by Mr. Moore and seconded by Mr. Badger.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the second is correct, but the Savory nominated Jim for vice chair.
Okay.
Everything else I'm fine with. Make a motion to accept the minutes as amended for July 8th, 2020.
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as amended for July 8th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right?
Any opposed? None? All right, 4-0, unanimous. Okay, we've got another 2 minutes before we can move on with our hearings.
Well, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
regarding the minutes, there was one notation of there being new guidance from the DEP and the SMART program that's changed. I don't know if, through Brooke, if we could get copies of that forwarded to us
I
sometime.
Oh.
Yeah, that-
I think I sent everybody.
I got it, so.
The stuff that Sarah had sent me?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought I sent it. I didn't get it. Wait,
thank you.
I don't
Yeah.
think I got it.
you didn't get
I
it?
don't think so.
I don't think I got it either.
There you go, see? You just thought you sent it
Huh, how come you got it then?
Because I guess I'm special.
Oh, okay. I just sent it to
I
save.
did get it.
Save
Causing trouble everywhere I go.
I may have sent you an email about
up.
it.
You know how she likes cocktails after 10 o'clock?
Oh, in the morning.
That's right.
So,
Probably around 3 or 4.
new guidance. Oh, okay,
We
so I
found the
have.
minutes. Okay.
We're good. By the time you read it, it'll be time.
Okay. Notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, MGL, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaw, that a public hearing will be held at 7:15 PM on Wednesday, August 19th. This says the 5th, but that's got to change. In Meeting Room 1 at the Carver Town Hall to hear the abbreviated notice of resource area delineation and ANARAD. CVE North America, Inc., the applicant is requesting through the ANARAD that the Carver Conservation Commission confirm the wetland resource areas on the property. The project is located at 27 Wenham Road, Carver, Massachusetts, map 100, parcels 5, 6, and 7A. All interested parties are invited to attend. So,
And sign it if you want to. Yeah. Sign it cheap.
I'll tell you, your mask is optional because you're standing there by yourself and it might be easier for everybody to
Perfect.
hear you. But it's absolutely your choice.
Would it be okay if I hold the chair over there?
Sure.
So I can see?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that.
All right. My name is Asa Smith. I'm with Atlantic Design Engineers, which is the engineer on record for the project here. It's 27 Meadow Road. I'm representing CVE North America and Ryan Young there and Christina back. We did the site walk today and confirmed walked around the site and confirmed the areas of the site that have been flagged for isolated wetlands and the cranberry bog itself. If you guys have any questions, it's pretty straightforward during the site walk, and you let me know.
Okay. I didn't make the site visits.
I know.
Do you know where this is, Alan?
Yep,
Yeah,
we'll do now.
yeah, it was on the other side of the road that I thought it was originally.
Yeah, it's just past the gas station.
The Pratts own the property? I don't know if you know them.
That's the old gas station.
Yes, the one that they cleaned up.
Yeah. So we have the markings on this thing.
No, it's just an Anoran. It's not-
So that would be. Yeah. Maybe 60. Okay. It looks like it, yeah. Right.
Anyone have any comments? I do, but, you guys can go
Yeah,
first.
We were just confirming the scale, the distance between this,
Bog in the pond.
the bog and the pond across the way.
On the neighboring property.
According to the scale, it looks like it's outside the 100 feet, just, it didn't look like it when we were at the site.
Okay. Is that the extent of your comment on this? Jim, you were okay with this today?
Yeah, it was there.
So I think the main issue was the designation of upland bog,
Right.
pretty
yeah.
much. I mean, we couldn't, the other wetlands that were delineated were obvious, the ones that were flagged that we saw.
Yes, and Brooke shared with all of us the historical timeline of the bog, and it does start over 100 years ago with a 1916 USGS, which shows the location of the bog as being in a wooded area with wetlands all around it. It seems like a little bit of a peninsula in the Herring Brook swamp and riverbed, which was at the time, when we were talking about this today, this was presented today out there, as being the determiner for it being an upland bog. However, there are other maps that were part of this for instance, there's one in 1941 which shows a stream or a river or a canal going right through the bog. And then there is the USGS from the 2018, which shows the wetland designations right in the middle of the bog. So the question arises is what's 104 years old, does that take precedent over something that's 2 years old? And I'm thinking that we should probably, Brooke, look to getting a little bit more information about the soil.
Yep. I mean, what we did on that, we did on Fuller Street is you voted to hire a consultant to look at it, Peter Fletcher.
Okay.
Who we had him do that last night, did a very good job, did, detailed soils and things like that. And he also looks at the historical stuff. He'll relook at all that stuff. So if if you have a question, I mean,
Well, I do. When we've had a lot of upland wetland bog questions before, and usually when there is an upland bog, there's an indication that if the water were to, if the pump was to be turned off, that it would go dry.
Mm-hmm.
This seems to be lower than the water table around it, and it's, sluiceways are.
you really didn't see a pump house.
I didn't see a pump house anywhere.
Right at the entrance, there was one.
Was there?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where'd the river go?
Well, and
The river's along the upper left-hand corner.
Yeah, but it's even on this.
but on the
Stops.
2000, yeah,
Well,
right,
it goes into the bog and becomes the canals within the bog.
within the-
yeah.
And those are, currently, those are man-made. So those two indicators of the inflow and outflow are actually man-made, and they look as such. But the other thing is, though, that there is the symbol for a wetland from 2018. So that seems to be in contradiction to what was from 1916. So I'd like to get more soil samples done. I'd like to entertain a motion for the commission to have the applicant hire Peter Fletcher or someone like that to give us soil samples and come back to report.
Well, I'll be happy to make that motion. Can I ask why you think it's an upland bog?
Well, yeah, I think that the history of the site can go back 100 years of being a cranberry bog. And so when you look at that map back in 100 years ago, it was about the time when they were probably surveying the area and decided that it could become a cranberry bog if they created those sluiceways and the outlet pipe. And so they were able to create a bog out of the upland area because of the nearby river. And so I think what you're seeing in the 2018 map is an indication that it's a cranberry bog, which by USGS they do consider a wetland. So there is a designation that it can be considered a wetland because of the cranberry bog, per the aerials.
So your argument is that they're simply saying it's a wetland bog, but you think it's designated as an upland bog?
And I think a lot of the time when they make these maps, they look at the aerials and say, okay, there's a cranberry bog there.
I don't disagree with that. I would make that motion, Mr. Chairman, that we just have a little bit better peek.
Can I ask a question? Is that the water? Or no?
Oh, do you want?
Yeah, after the motion
Yeah.
is made and seconded,
Yeah.
we'll have discussion.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to ask the applicant to hire a soil specialist to come back with samples from throughout the cranberry bog to help in making a determination if it's a wetland or an upland bog. Now, anybody else on the board have any discussion, any points? All right,
I'm sorry to interrupt.
that's okay.
I live at 31 Wyndham Road, and I'm very familiar with this property. I basically grew up on this property. The river that you're talking about, I believe, is an overflow from Wyndham Pond that flows under the road and down there, and that's how they used to flood the cranberry bogs before we had irrigation systems. So I know that the water went into those bogs out there, and that's how they were maintained. So that would have been in the 50s, 60s.
But it went in because they opened a gate?
And then when a pond is full, which it is isn't right now, obviously.
Right.
But that's an overflow for that, so Lamb Pond does not do what it's not supposed to do, and flood out other bogs that surrounded it. So if that's the river you're talking about going through there, I believe that that's the path of the
Mr.
takes.
Chairman. You don't need to reinvent the wheel here. I think we're just looking for a little more clarity on it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
You know, I don't wanna see you go out and spend $10,000 on a soil specialist and then bring us in maps and charts, and we just kinda need someone to just give us a little more support in our direction and which way we would vote on this, so that we have a little bit better understanding. We said this many, many times before, and Sabri will attest to it, because he usually says it before I do. It's never this instance, it's always the next 4 guys coming behind you.
Yep.
And then we get, you know, things like they hold stuff like this up and they stop pointing and saying, but you gave it to them, you know, so.
And the more, this is a persistent issue that we have. So the more data that we can compile from different parts of the town, the better it's going to make our decision-making moving down the road. So, you know, every parcel is different. It just appeared today that this was awfully wet. It seemed very low, the water around it. In fact, on that outflow, or the inflow on the western side, the water was backed up almost to the top of the road, much higher than the bog itself in a very dry situation. So it kind of raised a little bit of questions.
Yeah.
And, you know, is there something that may have happened over the last 100 years that turned this upland bog more towards a wetland and created something that would change its designation? So that's all.
Could you repeat the motion, please?
The motion is to have the applicant hire a soil consultant to go out and do an independent study of the soils in the bog and come back with a report that will be presented in front of the Conservation Commission.
I'd like to make a suggestion, maybe. I'm not sure that a soil sample might not be necessary because it might be an interpretation of the law based on aerial photos, and so, you know, I'm just questioning whether the motion sounds like that an actual soil sample and soils report is required, where, you know, the wetland scientist that you're requiring might say that's not necessary, but, you know, we agree or disagree without taking soil. So I'm just trying to clarify if you think soil samples are necessary, or is it up to the wetland scientist to determine what the process is?
Well, when you know, Peter Fletcher did it, I mean, that was kind of how, he had done a number of them here, and that was how he determined that the Fuller Street ones were upland. But he also re-looked at the historical stuff.
Right.
So, you know, if it would basically be, I mean, I guess if you wanted Peter Fletcher, we could, you know, that would be our choice. I mean,
But we could allow him to make a decision as to how he would go about
right, and that's
determining that?
typically how he does it. I mean, if you've looked at his reports,
I
you know,
mean, we could change the motion to, you know, to,
could just have
Have
him
Peter
look
Fletcher.
at it. Yeah,
right.
yeah. I mean, he might not feel he has to do so, but that's typically how he does it.
Yeah.
And he does, and Jim knows. You know, you've seen his reports. I mean, he does his pictures of the layers of soils, and there's a whole kind of method that he uses.
All right. So, Mr. Germain, would you care to amend?
Why don't we just withdraw that motion and make a new motion
To just
Can I
have
that,
some.
we're not,
Can I just
hi there.
put something in there? Hi. First of all, I don't know who this gentleman is, so he needs to introduce himself and
Oh.
sign in. Second
Oh,
of
yeah.
all, the motion that you said, that, you know, I've typed it all in here. If we're gonna take it out, where does that leave their comments? The abutters, you're taking out the discussion as well?
Okay, so we'll amend it.
Right, so-
Can you read me what the motion that you have written?
Mr. Germain made a motion to ask the applicant to hire a consultant to obtain soil samples to help make the determination of wetland versus upland bog and report back to the commission. Seconded by Mr. Nowen.
I think that stands the way it is. We're not asking for topographical information, we're asking for soil samples.
Well, we're leaving that up to
Yeah.
the expert
Then I can amend it
to
to,
just remove soil samples.
Why would you not want soil samples?
Well, and Peter Fletcher doesn't, I mean, that's probably what he would do, but, I mean, he might think he doesn't have to.
What's being asked of us is to let the expert make the determination of how he wants to
Right.
come up with the answer.
Let somebody
So
else
amend
just.
the motion to ask Peter Fletcher to do exactly the rest of the motion.
Right.
Soil samples and come up with a determination. The bottom line is that no matter who goes out there to do a study, we want soil samples.
Well, we want to
Based on what
determine.
you said a little while ago.
Well,
You're
that
concerned
that
about
seems
it
to
being
be,
Upland or not.
that seems to be the way things are done in
Right.
previous ones. I said
Right.
soil samples because that's what we're used to.
Right.
So why don't we, I'll amend that motion that we request that of Peter Fletcher.
Yeah.
But the rest of the motion stays the way it is. So,
To request what? Say it again.
request Peter Fletcher go forward and do the rest of that motion.
And just do another study, basically, just
Yeah.
look at,
Right.
you know,
Is that agreeable to you guys?
Yeah, I think so. So we have
Okay.
to, if Peter Fletcher is not available, do we have to come back to the next meeting for you to designate somebody else?
now he should be, I actually had emailed him about a couple of other ones that we were thinking we might have him do, and he said he was gonna be available at the end of August. So if I get a hold of him right away, I think he can probably do it, you know, fairly soon.
Can I ask this gentleman, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are, but, who would you use? Do you have somebody else in mind you'd prefer?
I don't, and I would leave it up to you, your discretion. If you have
Right,
somebody
it's our
or-
call.
I know it is, but I wanted to ask.
Yeah, I
Are you part of this project?
Yes.
Yeah, my name's Ryan Young, I'm a business developer with CVE, and I'll.
Now I feel better knowing who
And
I'm
I'll
talking
sign it,
to.
I'll sign it, but, I mean, I would rather the motion say that, it's either at the discretion of the chair or the town. I don't wanna wait a month and then come back.
No,
and
I
something
understand.
falls apart.
Yeah. I mean, I'll find out right away, I can do it.
Okay.
So.
All right, if you're fine with that,
Is
then,
that amendment to that motion acceptable? That needs a second.
yeah, we need a second to the amendment. All right. Jim, second?
So would you just,
I don't
Be
know if
so-
I got it right.
okay, would you read that back just so we make sure we have this right?
Okay, so after the discussion, Mr. Jermaine amends the motion to request Peter Fletcher go forward and do this motion. That's what you
Yeah,
said.
that's right.
Does that make
That's right.
sense?
Yeah.
That will work.
Seconded by Mr. Nara.
All right, okay. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye. None opposed? Passed unanimously.
So do you want to put this on a continuation, or we just stop right here? Do you want to continue this, or?
I would say, you know, they won't make it to the September 2nd meeting, but
Okay.
could continue maybe to the one.
They could.
Yeah, I think we'll be ready.
Yeah, I would think, I mean, I wouldn't think, if Peter could get out there right away, I mean, I remember, it didn't take him all that long to do the Fuller Street one.
No, he didn't. That was
Did
great.
it? Yeah.
The weather's
So if he
been
can-
nice.
Yeah, and if he can get out there, you know, fairly.
Get out there
quickly,
right
like,
away.
you know,
Why don't we continue this to that date? and
Okay.
If things aren't done in time, we can push it off beyond that.
Push it off
So-
to the September 18th or whatever.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we continue the hearing for 27 Wenham Road, ANRAD 126604, to the September
Second.
2nd conservation meeting.
Okay, and a second?
Who seconded?
And I'll
Dan-
let you know
Dan
as soon as I
seconded.
find out, you know, when he can get out.
It's
there.
been moved and seconded to continue the hearing on 27 Wenham Road to our next meeting on Wednesday, September 2nd. All those in favor?
All right,
Aye. None opposed.
thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thanks.
Right.
They had to do something, but he was very vague about it, so he wasn't impressed, so I didn't want them to send him back out, you know what I mean? So it was better just to take Peter Fletcher.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
I'm fine with that.
yeah. It didn't seem to be, you know.
Okay, you ready? Up next,
Yeah.
Pine Street, Edaville Holdings. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, MGL, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaw, that a public hearing will be held at 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday, August 19th, 2020, in Meeting Room 1 at the Carver Town Hall to hear the notice of intent submitted on behalf of Edithville Land Holdings, LLC, for the construction of 2 common driveways to access 4 building lots. The construction of the driveway will involve 5 crossings of an existing ditch associated with the abandoned cranberry bogs. The proposed driveways are within the 65 and 100-foot buffer zones to the cranberry bogs and will require a variance from the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Section 9.2.1.33, for the activities within the 65-foot buffer protected under the bylaw. The project is located off Pine Street, Carver, Massachusetts, map 86, parcels 11 and 12. All interested parties are invited to attend.
We only have one.
I can't find the other plans.
Look,
You don't have an extra
I'm
plan with you, do you?
I think I know what's going on.
For some reason I only have, oh, wait. I only have one plan, but you have the other plans for you. No, you got the one on the board, that's right.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the back side.
And we saw those plans today, so
yes.
you can pass them on the board.
Hey, Art. How are you?
Good.
How's the Triple E thing going?
We missed you today.
Thank you. I
And,
live right next to it, so.
and per conversation I had with Savory earlier today, there's been another positive human case in Halifax. So we may be seeing spraying sooner than later.
Triple
Oh,
E?
okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Halifax.
I'm gonna put a plug in for Mosquito Joe. We have them every 3 weeks, it's $150, and I have yet to see a single solitary mosquito anywhere near the goats. We don't even have horseflies. We can sit out on the back deck, there's no bugs.
There's nothing, no birds, nothing.
No, there's plenty of birds, and the squirrels are loving the feeder, so,
Are you inviting us over?
sure.
You need to renegotiate to $99.
Actually, you know what, they really bent over backwards. They do a huge area, and they're there for 45 minutes spraying. And I'm absolutely thrilled. As far as I'm concerned, it's the best money you could spend, especially with Mr. Gloom and Doom over here telling us that we can't go outside for 5 minutes. And I say that with all the love, Arthur.
I know, Alan.
All winter it was you couldn't go anywhere because of COVID. Now we can't go outside because of mosquitoes.
Yeah.
I have to say that Plymouth County has a mosquito control project themselves.
Yes.
That they do spraying, and that's an alternative, and it is taxpayer paid for.
Yes, they back down our driveway, I think it's 6 times. They back all the way down.
Yeah, 8 times a year they will do it.
I think we get them 6, but they back all the way down as far as they can go and they spray into
Mosquito
the
control
woods.
people do?
Yeah.
Plymouth County Mosquito Control, yeah.
Oh,
Because way behind the house, that's all wet. That's all the,
oh, right, okay.
the wetlands
Yeah.
back there.
Yeah, they come down my driveway, they go right around the house.
Oh,
Spraying,
really?
yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, oh yeah, right around the lawn. Yeah.
huh.
So that's the end of the commercial plugs, but we've had good luck with the lack of mosquitoes, I'm very happy to say.
Okay, Arthur Borden, on behalf of Edithville Land Holdings and First Colony Development, I appreciate the opportunity this morning to walk the site with a few of you and see what we're doing. We're proposing 2 common driveways to service 4 house lots, 2 lots for each driveway. The majority of the driveways are in areas that are already historically been used for access around the bogs. Obviously, everything's within 65 feet of the bogs and the reservoir that's there. We did supply a written request for a variance via bylaw. The 5 crossings they're existing ditches. I think historically they were part of a larger network that's no longer in use. They're all dry as a bone. But in the event that anything was to change, we're proposing to put ADS piping in those ditches where the driveway crossings are going to be, so that in the event that the water wants to come back and flow, it will not be impeded.
All you see is the
We indicated on the plans where the erosion control would be on both sides of the driveways, between the driveway and the bog, on where the two driveways access off of Pine Street. We've proposed a couple of riprap construction entrances for sediment control while the site's under construction. We're proposing the driveways to be construction wrap, reprocess gravel pavement so that it's not a impervious paved surface. It will have some ability to permeate into the ground. In lots 1 and 2, we also showed the proposed well sites for them within the buffer zone. Any future development on the lots that falls within your resource areas will be back with notices of intent. There is room on all 4 lots to actually design houses and septics without coming back. The work would be outside of the buffer zones, but in the event that there is work, we'll come back with notices of intent for those particular lots.
Is there another map available?
Yeah, I don't know why, I don't have another one.
Please.
That was the one we had today, I might have, I probably left it in my car. There's nothing in the other.
One
You
sec.
didn't have any small ones, did you? I think you have the existing one.
I think I gave you 2 or 3 color up ones.
I might have. I have a small one. Oh, all right, I got small one. Yeah, I'm
The
not
only
sure
other
what
one you
happened to
got?
the big ones. I don't know where they.
This it?
Yeah, hang on. I think I have one more.
Got another one?
Yep.
Ooh,
You can't see it quite as well. It's not colored. But
that's okay.
you can still see where the roads are.
Get out the crayons.
Yeah. Color.
Yeah, this is great.
I don't know what happened to the other ones. Probably left them in my car.
So this is only for the driveways?
Yes,
So you're gonna end up coming back and get the variances to build the houses?
yes. We wouldn't need variance. They might fall partly within the 100-foot buffer. Nothing within the
Nothing
65-foot
within the
buffer.
65.
No, but it looked like most of them would be outside the 100.
Right.
I didn't walk this, you guys did, so
Yeah.
I'm assuming that these are going across a man-made drainage ditch, a
Yeah.
man-made.
Right.
And it's going on the existing, dike roads around the bog.
Which now have 30-foot trees growing in the side.
No,
The dike roads aren't bad.
Oh, the roads aren't
No,
bad.
I'm talking about the bog
Oh, the
itself.
bog itself, yeah.
oh, yeah.
One of the bogs didn't even look very wet at all.
No.
They're pretty, one towards the back was a little wet, but.
Was there any water on the
And then
reservoir?
there's, the reservoir, there's some, it was
Not
low,
very
it was
much.
pretty low, yeah.
That whole table is way, way down.
Yeah.
Ashley took my well pump. Must have run 15, 20 minutes the other day before it shut itself off on automatic pressure for the garage for the building down front.
Yeah.
I thought the well was,
Oh, it's almost pumped dry.
yeah, I because there's
Has that ever
dry
happened?
as a bone. I never, all the time with them.
Do you have a deep well?
That's a pretty deep one.
Yeah.
It's not super deep. The house is much deeper.
What happens if what happens if you run out of water?
Come to your house.
You go by it and, oh, I town water. You don't want that.
We got several wells, but
Yeah.
the house has never run dry, and the garage is a little bit less shallow, but I know it's.
Well, we're in a second level drought or something right now. I
The water
guess.
table's way down.
Yeah.
I talked to Mark Weston today, he said he was only able to water the bogs for 3 hours.
Yeah.
He had to shut it off
Yeah.
and wait.
Well, that was why I would say we said about about the last project. That water was high. And it's been so dry. It's just those look very wet. I don't know.
Healthy bonds.
Yeah, and nobody's really got super healthy bogs on it.
All right, any comments from,
Couple questions.
Okay.
Just to bring me up to speed, what constitutes the difference between a driveway and a road versus an avenue versus a street, et cetera?
These are driveways within an easement to access those two lots. If it was a roadway, it would be, the right-of-way would be 40 foot wide, with the road actually constructed inside of that. And if we had to do something like that, we would do one road to service the 4 lots. This is a much less intrusive way to get a couple of driveways to the backland that is nice-looking backland, actually. And the driveways, like I say, they're all pretty much over existing areas around the bogs that have been used to work the bogs forever, so it's not like we're going in and clear-cutting buffer zone to make any driveways work.
So this more southerly entrance for the two more southern lots, there's no way to just have that one roadway access the two lots that are a little bit more to the west?
So do one driveway as opposed to two?
I was just wondering.
Yeah.
Yeah. Consistently, we've done 2 lots on a common driveway. Anything over that usually requires further review through planning board and special permit, and may wind up with conditions that, is more than the constructed width that we're proposing. We've done this in the past where 18 feet wide is sufficient for police, fire, and EMS vehicles to cross back and forth, access for cars coming and go and be able to pass each other. It's not a case of somebody's got to jump off to one side to let somebody go by.
Who maintains this?
It would be the 2 homeowners. The 2 homeowners would each be responsible for their percentage of the driveway.
Because they're pretty long, and it's certainly not something you're gonna go out there and shovel, so I'm just
Right.
wondering if you have the Hatfields and the
Right.
boys living next door to each other, who's gonna maintain this driveway?
There's a lot of those
Yeah.
covered too.
You know?
So on the
You plow it,
if
no,
I-
you plow.
if I may, on the northern entrance, coming around the bog, we had made note that the first one of the culverts would have to be widened anyway,
Right.
for safety reasons alone.
Right.
And but to be clear, the town wouldn't be maintaining.
No, this is all private property.
Actually, I believe, Art, on that one culvert on that single driveway, your original plan had it being a separate one.
Right.
That was further off the bog, more into the
Right.
woods. But
Yep.
when we were out there talking about it
Right.
today, you
We're gonna-
figured that we could probably utilize what's
Yep.
there, just making it wider.
Right.
So the plan would have to,
Yeah, it'd be a
the plan
minor-
on file would have
It'd be a
to,
minor modification of the
indicate
plan in that area, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, because I think that's a little better, a little less intrusive on that one. Jim, any questions?
No.
And I did mention when DP, issued the file number, they had
Right.
comments about, the little amount of filling that was, because it showed filling, a little amount of filling near the culverts and things on the plan. So they just wanted to say that it wasn't just a buffer zone only project, that it's a little filling, so.
Well, what is their, what is it they're looking for?
Well, they just comment when they give, nothing, particular.
No.
They didn't say, you needed, you could, if that there was actually filling, you could have them do a little replication where there's plenty to do, which would make up for, the small amount of filling, but, the DEP didn't really say, do anything. And I don't know.
I think they were really bringing it to your attention
Right,
to review it more than
right,
anything.
right,
And
right,
make a determination, is a couple thousand square feet total
right.
filling for these 5 crossings, is that worthy of, disturbing some other buffer zone someplace else to replicate it, and what's the value of it?
Right, and them, and they probably didn't even realize that it was on existing
Right,
bog roads, you know what I mean? They
Yep.
might have just thought, we're just putting a whole new driveway in,
Right.
knowing them, but
Was there something else that they had asked about too, about water?
But, you know, the water quality certification, I don't agree with that.
No,
Because-
but that was, I think that was part of that, asking you to
Yeah,
review that it wasn't just
Yeah,
a buffer zone, that there were
Right.
the 5
right,
minor crossings to look at and review, and
right.
so.
Yeah, no, they didn't really say we had to do anything, they always note things that we're supposed to, you know, look at, but.
And these all meet the frontage requirements and the lot size, I'm assuming, so, but some of these people are gonna, like, looks like one guy's gonna own one driveway and one guy's gonna own another driveway, so there's gonna be an easement for that driveway?
There's easements created. We submitted a plan to the planning board to create the 4 lots with the easements on that plan.
That was the A&R, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So the lot 1 has the driveway on it, but it's really, the easement is for the benefit of lot 2. So the deed for lot 2 would have an attachment to it that discusses the right to use that easement in between the 2 lots, maintain it. And the same with lot 3 and 4. The driveway is primarily on lot 4 for the benefit of access to lot 3. So again, those deeds would reflect the common driveway and the need for the 2 parties to maintain them. We
So-
did a very similar thing a couple of years ago around the corner of Meadow Street on another piece of property that the Heckler family owned, behind the 2 new houses that are built where the old house.
Yeah.
There's a driveway on the right-hand side of the bog that goes out in the back, and there's 2 houses out back
Right,
there.
it splits off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that,
Yeah,
that we looked at a little years ago.
Yep.
yeah. I know the lady that lives way out back.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, she came to the meeting when
Yeah,
when
started.
Jamie
Yeah.
was building the 2 new homes.
And didn't she want to pave her driveway or something? Was she the one who wanted to pave her driveway?
Yes.
And then she never came back. But we said, nah, we'd rather not have you pave it.
Right.
So this will be a pervious surface, this is gonna be ground asphalt?
Right.
I'd like to hear what the abutters have to say, too. I'm assuming we have
Yeah.
abutters here tonight.
All right, well, we have to
Close the hearing.
close the hearing first, and then,
How can you close the hearing?
Well,
Then
Yeah, and then you hear about it.
all right, so, okay, so we're done with our comments? All right,
you close the hearing, because then we couldn't hear from the abutters.
okay,
Right, no.
all right.
Yeah, right after your comments, thank you.
Right.
All right, so now if there are any residents who would like to comment on this or ask questions, come up now. Just please come up and sign in. And,
Take the chair next to Art and the mic. Missed that one. That woman was sitting back here. She didn't have a mic. Should have slid this one up to her. Went from 30. Very well, madam.
Thank you. My name is Alan Fletcher. I live at 1 Morrissey Drive, and I think, like most of my neighbors in this room here today, we've owned our homes on that street for quite a long time, and we bought them as investments. And we don't want to say that this gentleman can't, or this company can't make an investment in property and have a living off of this property. But with this investment that we made, we're deeply concerned. And I'm really deeply concerned because the plans that I got a month ago are quite different than this. This is extremely different from what we originally got. He mentioned that they weren't going to clear cut for the driveways, but they're obviously going to clear cut that whole back lot to make these homes. Are they going to raise the foundation so that we don't get water in our basements? Where's that water going to go once these foundations go in? Are those bogs going to be filled in? And if they are filled in, where's the water going to go? We're deeply concerned, I am, for my investment that I made in 1987.
What plans did you get?
I got the one that was posted on the town.
Would that be the planning board one, Art? What?
The planning board plan has lots in the easement, does not have the
Didn't have the roadways,
Driveway.
oh, okay, yeah.
the wetlands.
Because they were just looking at the A and R
Right.
part of it, yeah, yeah.
So I think what I'm understanding here is that this part of the meeting is to make the driveways, but once the driveways are made, then it's gonna go to another conservation hearing to build the buildings? Is that the case?
It would be planning board primarily for the buildings, if it warrants it. We are restricted here to 100 feet from the wetlands themselves, which is the yellow line that you see on that map up there. So based on this plan here, there is only one home that encroaches into a small part
For the 100 feet?
of the 100 feet.
Right.
The other three homes, which are lots number 1, 3, and 4, are well outside of the wetlands area, and therefore, we have no jurisdiction at all over that. And they do not have to come before us. They have to come before us for Lot 2, but that's it.
All right, so this is to approve the driveways and the road sequences.
This is to approve the 5 culverts that they want to install. Actually, it's 3 new culverts and 2 repairs or upgrades of existing culverts, where the driveways go over canals, so to speak, drainage ditches.
I walk the property a lot.
Right.
Until they put up the signs, so, yeah.
Yeah, so there's, on the south side of the bogs, there is a ditch that comes south out of the bog, and then it kind of splits left and east and
Are there
west.
any vernal pools in that woods area?
I don't believe so. They would be noted on the, they would be indicated as a wetland.
There's no
If-
mapped vernal pools, no certified vernal pools, no
Nothing
NHGSP.
mapped there for rural pools.
I know this is certainly a different year with the water table, and we all know that, but that wetland in the back gets really wet. And those foundations go in, all these people in this room are gonna have water in their cellars, because they're below the street level in Morrissey Drive. And this is gonna destroy their investment.
Where's Morrissey Drive, behind the
Correct.
Right around the corner.
Oh, around the corner, okay.
Well, that's really a planning board issue,
So-
because the foundations of the houses, as indicated on this plan, are outside the 100 feet.
Right.
So, you know, we're not involved with the water table, per se. We're involved with the delineation of the wetlands and 100 feet away from them.
Understood. So the next step is the planning board.
They're the ones that can stop or require adjustments to the project. They can order screening, they can order trees not be cut down, they can order drainage away from the...
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're not trying to deny.
They can't do any of that?
No, the next step would be to the building inspector with site plans. They don't, doesn't go back to the planning.
It doesn't,
board.
I didn't think it had to.
Really?
It's not like a subdivision, it's like a conservation subdivision, which would be different. It's just 4 houses now on 2 A and R lots, so it's not, I guess, so it isn't planning.
So if we approve it today, then basically the pathway to them developing 4 lots is clear. Is that the case?
You've been in front of the planning board already to,
They approved the A and R plan.
they approved of the 4 lots.
Right.
Yeah.
Was there a town meeting on
Not
that?
required.
Hmm?
On an A and R, an approval not required.
Oh, right, yeah, right,
That's
but,
not a public hearing, that's an agenda item for them.
okay.
And we can't really take into account the abutters when it's dealing with the driveway going in over drainage areas. We can take into account, you know, what is within our scope.
Right. Which at this point, today's hearing is for the 5 culverts. That's what we're here for today. We're not here for the house on Lot 2.
And then the work, you know, that the whatever they do on the roadway, put the processed gravel, that's within,
Yes,
100 feet,
it's the
65.
building of the driveways, but the variance is for
yeah.
the culverts.
There is a house on Pine Street, the last one on Pine Street, away from the bogs, toward Meadow Street. And it was built with the ground level, the basement level at ground level. And it gets wet all the time because it's too low. It should never have been allowed, but it's been there, that house has been there probably for 40 years.
The red one is you first come around the corner,
Yes, it's the one that's in the woods there.
on the left,
Yeah,
yeah.
right before the.
I know that she gets wet a lot,
Right.
because that was the argument when you were trying to do the solar project, and we were dealing with that.
Right. Across the street, across Pine.
Of course, we won't even get into the water that I get, but that has nothing to do with these bogs, it has to do with the street.
The grower that's working that bog there has been trying to keep the water away from him, but it's very difficult because he says the ground where that house is located is just too low. It's-
According to these plans, they're clearing out the trees in the back of in those wetlands behind the culverts on lots 3 and 4. That's all wood. Where those houses are going are woods. That's
Yeah, but if
wetlands.
it's not wetlands, we have no control over it.
The only area that they're clearing that's under our jurisdiction is where the driveways cross over that 100-foot buffer. It's not the lots themselves, where the houses, where the foundation. In all cases except the Lot 2, those buildings, and right now they're just squares, I'm sure there'd be some kind of different plan, but those are outside of our jurisdiction, so we have.
Basically space holders at this point. So
Right, yeah.
If somebody comes along with a real footprint, then you'll have to do percolation tests and groundwater determinations and satisfy the Board of Health requirements and satisfy the building inspector.
What's the timeline on the perk tests? Would it be in current state, or would it be in the spring of next year when it's actual?
The way perk tests are done now, soil evaluations, has nothing to do with how wet it is, how dry it is.
So,
The soil evaluators are trained to look for not just groundwater, but modeling, which is signs of high seasonal high groundwater. That's what you have to design the system and the basement floor elevation on, is based on that, whether it's, the actual water table could be several feet lower than that because it's dry. But it leaves the, I call it the rust mark in the hole.
Understood.
And that's the evidence of the estimated seasonal high groundwater table, and that's what we have to go behind.
Is that in all soils or just in certain soils? Because I'm sure that there's dark soil in that back.
I'm not a soil evaluator, but the people that we use that are trained, actually, most of them are trained by Peter Fletcher. He acknowledged soil expert, I guess. He's the one who trained most of the soil evaluators in the state.
Here's the hill here.
They have to go and be recertified every 2 or 3 years, they have to be retrained and recertified.
Promoting some of that.
So what areas were you thinking were wetland? You said the wooded areas?
The wooded areas behind the bogs are wetland. And the other big concern that I would have as a property owner and a butter is that, are those bogs gonna get filled in? Right?
No.
And will that be deeded so that the future landowner can't fill it in later on down the line?
They're still a wetland.
All right.
I mean,
so those bogs-
our condition would say that there would be a condition in our order that would say that they couldn't do any further work,
Right.
which is what we typically do. I wouldn't think they would want to particularly, but I don't know.
leave the
What's the
bogs,
total lot size of all of those lots
do
combined?
nothing with the bogs, they're gonna grow,
Is it, it seems like it's 9 to 10 acres?
It's not real wet at all.
That's where that's all where the old river went.
Combined, so that the other 5 that was
What's
sold
the
with
wetland in
the 22 is basically the driveways and
Way out,
things like
it
that.
makes
The
its way to
common
the
ones.
wee Antic, it comes down
That won't be
around,
deeded
goes
to the homeowner.
behind a lot of those
They're all
houses,
in easements.
out behind my house.
So are they wetlands behind there on yours?
You get to it, sure.
Do you have wetlands behind your house?
He's got wetlands farther down, he's on the corner, but if
I'm on
you
the corner.
continue down Morrissey on the
Yeah.
right-hand side, you'll eventually come up to the backside of what our property is, Bazagiani's property, that's all wetlands out there in the woods, and that's where it heads back out to the old Weeweeantic
Yeah.
River and all that stuff.
Is that watershed underneath part of the Ponset watershed?
Well, the question I have is that, that the developer has come here before this very committee and talked about a natural drainage that went under Pine Street, that went out onto this property and fed the Weeweeantic River.
We were just talking about that.
And suddenly now we have, you know, we're looking for this kind of a thing. So I question, and I'm going to abstain from this vote, Mr. Chairman, just because I happen to live 3 doors up from this project. So, you know, I've gotten entrenched enough with John that I don't think it's right that I should take part in that vote.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But Alan, we do need your information. so
Yeah,
don't-
yeah, you continue with what you're gonna say.
Yeah, I'm just gonna abstain from the vote, that's all. I'll continue, don't believe me, you ain't gonna shut me up. You need a bigger gavel than that. I just know that we've had so much trouble on Pine Street with
Yeah.
water and drainage and residents, and
Yeah.
we've had the very first house coming around the corner on Pine Street when you guys wanted to do the solar project. Then there was the gentleman that would have been directly abutting to that. The water that comes and goes, and what runs over the parking lot out of Edaville in a good hard rain, and now we're gonna go out back and, I'm not saying you shouldn't be doing this, but what's gonna happen when it doesn't work? I guess that's my problem, Art, is that
When what doesn't work?
when we put these houses in, and 2 years from now, there are, you know, 6 upset homeowners that suddenly have to put in pumps in their basement that never had water before. What's their recourse? Not that we have any control over this project for that
Right.
angle, but that's where my thought process
Right.
is going.
The technology for determining water table has changed drastically since any of those houses on Morrissey were built.
I get it.
I can tell you that. And again, you know, knowing what we have to do going forward, I mean, it's, you know, when we do the perks, we'll determine where the water table is. I can tell you if there's a way to maybe infiltrate the roof runoff somehow, we can do that. But I think that, you know, runoff from the property in general, I don't, you know, we're plenty far enough away from the rear property line on lots 3 and 4 that I don't see us impacting anything there.
Yeah, but you're right up on top of the abutters' backyards off of Morrissey, and those lots are nowhere near as large as lots 3 and 4. So you have, you know, you have residents that have smaller parcels of land now backing up to what was once woods, and don't misunderstand me, they don't have, that, I don't go by, they have the right to the view and stuff, but we're gonna clear that out and develop it, and suddenly they become extraordinarily impacted. So that's just a question I have. We have no control over it,
Right.
don't misunderstand.
No, we don't necessarily need to clear cut the whole lot either. I mean,
I would sincerely
through
hope
the,
not.
you know, the foundation, we have to clear for the septic, and, you know, whatever's nominal for a reasonable yard around the houses, there's no reason we have to clear cut
Right.
3 or 4 acres to build a house.
I wouldn't think you'd want to, but.
I mean, we have no control over the hydrologic
No.
ramifications of the
No, we
buildings
don't.
themselves, but the one thing, going back to my concern about the driveways, on the westernmost culvert that we talked about widening,
Yep.
and then the one that's actually the easternmost, that's closest to Pine Street, those 2 sections are well within our jurisdiction, and I do have some concerns with any activity going on in those 2 pockets, because there isn't really a whole lot of grade to work with there, and this one particularly by Pine Street is right along a reservoir, so I didn't know what the plan was in terms of, yeah, it looked like you're gonna have to widen that over there as well. And I didn't know where that soil was gonna come from and how that's gonna affect drainage as well.
Can you do this with one driveway, Art? Could you do a single driveway to feed these 4 lots?
Talked about that today.
No. That would be, I believe that would be a special permit to do that.
Yeah, that
Two-
would become
two-
like a subdivision, basically, right?
Right, 2 lots you can serve off of a common driveway, but you get over 2, you get into 3 and 4 lots, then it's
Becomes a road.
more, even with special permit, it becomes more of a subdivision.
You see the catch-22 for us, though, while we're trying to mitigate impact. You know, what you're talking about, you know, all due respect, is not really in our purview, so.
But I can tell you
No,
that
but
with,
it's one he can't avoid, yeah.
where the crossings are, there's plenty of depth to just, put a the ADS pipe in and smooth right over it. There's no filling required to raise the driveway up or anything. It's not a grade change of any kind. Where we have to extend a pipe, then we'll extend it. But again, there's no filling required to raise the driveway. Everything will stay at grade.
Yeah, the one on the eastern side, actually, there were 2 pipes, but they're already out of the water because the
Right.
reservoir is so low. So
Right.
those exist. So they're just going to have to, work around that to bring in utilities and to bring in the driveway, or make the driveway bigger than not bigger, but better than the current bog road. And the same is kind of true with the one on the west-hand side of the bog. That's the one where we discussed today that they're not going to they're not going to move the driveway away from the existing culvert. They're going to utilize the existing culvert and just make it wider to get to the 18 feet, I think,
Right.
is what you needed.
Right.
As far as the 3 in the south side that are necessary for lots 3 and 4, to me, that they're just culverts in an existing ditch that we saw today was bone dry. But it's not changing the water flow in any respect. The water is still going to have an opportunity to come out of the bogs and go down those man-made canals and go left or right, which they can do now, they'll be in a tunnel instead of in the open.
How you doing the utility side, when this happens? You going in overhead with telephone poles, or you gonna go
That
underground?
I don't know.
Because if it goes underground, they're gonna wanna follow the driveways back in again, so now we're digging.
Chances are they'll be underground.
I'm thinking
Probably
that
would
the
be
only
underground.
utility I think would be electric,
Yeah.
which could be, electric telephone cable could be on poles within the easement.
It's a lot of poles.
Right, and you've indicated where you're going to have your erosion controls, so that's the
Right.
width of any
Right.
clear cutting that you'll do to get those 2 driveways
Yes.
into lots 3 and 4.
Yeah.
So that will, help in the absorption of any kind of water.
And I'm sure in your conditions, you can make that a point that has to be staked prior to any work being done,
Right,
inspected by Brooke.
right. Any other comments? Any other comments from, yes, could you,
Kim Grant,
so-
Berryhill Drive.
I need you to sign in, please, and get near the microphone so our massive television audience can hear you.
I think one of my first comments was that, on the section 5 of the Conservation Commission, it says that variances are given only in rare and unusual cases, and this doesn't seem rare or unusual. And, I'm a little perplexed why Edaville Land Holdings purchased this property wanting to build 4 lots, knowing that they had to go through wetlands. Edaville Land Holdings had a fairly good idea that they were going to be given a variance. That perplexes me for some reason. Because if I was to invest and I see these wetlands, I realize the only way to access these highlands is to go to the wetlands. And that's what we're supposed to protect. So that's one of my major concerns. And then this road here is encroaching on, it appears to be encroaching on the Kenny's property, which is 16 Pine Street. And this one is encroaching on our property, which is 2 Cherry Hill Drive. And I noticed that you indicated that this is going to be 18 feet. And when my husband measures it from the back of our property to right over here, how much is it? Like barely 13. And I know in our deed and title of our backyard, it says we cannot cut any trees. So it seems like you're not only encroaching on our property, but you're going to have to cut trees and go into the bogs. And I believe that someone had indicated prior, this is a long driveway.
This is a subdivision in disguise by 2 common driveways.
Yeah, and I know someone had mentioned it earlier. I do not believe that the landowners are going to maintain these roads. These roads right here are still being held by Edaville Land Holdings. No. You're selling this, you're selling the wetlands?
The 4 lots that are created there, lots 3 and 4 have an easement that comes down the easterly side of the property. That services lots 3 and 4. The one that comes in on the north and the west services lot 1 and 2. We performed a boundary survey of this whole property before Edaville Land Holdings bought it. We know where the boundary lines are physically, and we know we have room to do that.
Okay, so there's 4
It's a technicality, but I mean,
lots.
it's a way to get away with
If you receive the variance, it looks like it's freestanding to build 4 lots. So we'll set that aside. But now you have this road. Who owns this road? This one? And who's gonna own it?
On the the southeasterly one, that's owned and maintained by lots 3 and 4.
The people that buy those 2 homes are gonna maintain this long driveway,
That would be written into their deed. That would be part of their responsibility.
knowing that it's going through wetlands.
It's not going through wetlands. The wetlands are indicated in blue on that plan.
But you're still going between 65 and 100 feet of wetlands, that's why we're here.
No, that's buffer zone work.
Okay.
That-
But back to my question prior, why would you buy property knowing you're going through wetlands and wetlands need to be protected? Unless, which seems a little suspicious, that you would know that you received a variance. That seems very suspicious to me, quite honestly. That's a huge investment.
We have a representative from Edaville here who would like to answer the question. Brenda, could you sign in, please?
My name is Brenda Johnson, 28 Pine Ridge Way, and I represent Edaville, and I don't appreciate your accusations. We bought this property because we wanted to buy the property across the street, and the only way that people would sell it is if we bought it as a package.
Which property across the street?
At Edaville, inside their property. So yes, I'd appreciate an apology from you.
I'd like to say something else on this. It seems that this went to the planning board and they had approval before this meeting.
They didn't need approval.
They didn't need approval.
Because we would have opposed it.
They didn't need
Well, we
approval.
asked for
They didn't need
It's
approval. It
called-
was an approval not required.
Go back to, this is actually subdivision in disguise. This is by two common driveways that they say the landowners are gonna operate, but to this woman's point, I see it highly unlikely that's gonna happen. There's probably gonna be some agreement with Edaville. But this is a subdivision and divide, and we were duped
Yeah.
by this.
I totally agree. We received something certified mailed about the driveways. No mention whatsoever that they're gonna be building 4 lots. That is deceptive. That's not fair to the people who own it. We live on Cherry Drive as well. You guys, the lot itself for Edaville is not maintained. It's not taken care of. Now you guys are gonna be building this right behind our homes. Why weren't we even brought into this? We were told about the driveways only. That's it. That's very unfair and deceptive practices.
Miss, you'll have to sign in also.
I'll sign in. And I have the same concerns as this gentleman. Your investment, that's fine, but why should we be penalized for your investment? If there's water damage on our property, are you guys gonna pay for it?
No, we're not.
You can't guarantee that there's not gonna be.
No, I can't.
So for me, I just feel like this is very unsettling.
And just with, so you know, with planning board, if it's an A&R lot, the neighbors do not have to be notified.
I just don't think that's fair. Would you
That-
want someone to do that to your property, your
That's a
investment?
planning board issue, right?
Yeah,
that's
this is
the
all
rules of the
planning
town.
board stuff.
It's a rule
Yeah.
of
And I
law.
understand, but I just feel like.
I don't disagree with you one
They did it
bit.
this way because they knew that they
Right.
could get away.
I don't
with it.
disagree with
I
you
don't
one
disagree
bit.
with
The
you.
A&R rules have been abused in the past, and this is a case where, I'm sorry, Brenda, we're pushing it right to the very edge. You're not telling anybody what you're doing. There's 2 driveways going in off of Pine Street, and the neighborhood is frankly pissed off over the current condition of Edaville.
And Alan,
That
I
being
think,
said, I'm
Hold on.
not
Stay
gonna
out
go
of
with you,
it.
Brenda.
no, I think.
I'm gonna
we should
tell you
stay
what
out
I'm
of it.
saying, and that's it.
The
All right.
existing
So,
lot-
and I'm living with water for the last 8 years, so I understand where they're coming from. And now we just want a
But
little
Alan,
more.
your water problem is not our water problem. It's
Oh,
been there
please,
since.
it's always
we
been your
first
water.
Own that
Hold on,
property.
hold on.
Let's not, please.
Let's
okay?
keep the meeting civil, and let's keep it to what is within our jurisdiction. The reason you received a letter about the driveways is because, as an abutter, you were required to for this meeting. And this meeting is about the driveways only. It is not about the 4 homes. It is not about anything outside the 100 feet of the wetlands.
As a homeowner in Carver, we pay extreme amount of taxes.
We all do.
What do we do in situations like this where this is completely wrong and deceptive to borrowers?
You have the right to an appeal to the DEP should this board vote yes on this
I
variance.
just feel like, for you guys to be here.
So you have a place to go.
But because DEP can't deal with the A&R issue or anything
No,
like
they
that,
can't.
but they can deal with the
No, they
wetland
can't.
issue.
I just
Right.
feel like, they bring a lot of money into the community, it's Edaville, blah, 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 but I just don't feel like this is the right way to go about conducting business. If you know this is your intent, be forthcoming about it. And right now, we have the availability and the position to put a stop to this from happening, if we can. I deal with mortgages every day. I've been in the industry for 25 years. Private road agreements, people usually do not maintain their roads.
But
They don't.
understand, if we say no tonight, they have the same rights as you do. They can
Absolutely.
appeal this to the DEP, and the
And
DEP can
understand.
overrule this commission on that end. So that knife cuts both ways.
And I understand, and they have every right to make an investment, but why should their investment cost me and my family money? And I know that's not what we're here for, but somebody needs to hear us. It's not fair. We've been in the property for 12 and 13 years. We've had no water issues. If they do this, and then there's water issues, are they gonna pay for it? No, they're not. They're gonna, sorry, not my problem. And that's not fair to us. It's not. We have a road that's going to be coming, and I'm calling it a road. It's gonna be coming right behind our properties. Right behind our properties. We bought this piece of property because of the fact that it was secluded. It was nice. You have trees. You can let your kids go out. You guys are gonna come in and put a road directly behind people's houses. On the first woman, the Kenny's house, you guys wanna go through the back of their driveway, cut through it. I just don't understand the thought process behind it. With all the land that's vacant in this area, why here? And we see, like I said, the way you guys maintain your existing structure, the property,
I'm sorry. Because it's not open for business, there's no weeding, there's no maintenance whatsoever. It's disgusting. I have to look at that every morning.
And I disagree with you. We've maintained it. There was somebody out there today mowing and weeding. And just so you know, the sidewalk is not our responsibility. It is the town sidewalk.
I'm talking about the gravel. But I just hope you can understand our place in this. If this was your property, I'm sure you would be upset as well. You guys are gonna put 2 driveways, which we all know they're roads, 2 driveways right directly behind people's homes. You're removing the views that people have, could possibly cause water damage. It's just, it's not right. It's unfair and deceptive practices, is what it is. And it's very sneaky.
They should have been notified.
As Jamie had mentioned here, there's gonna be a road here in the back of our yards, and we already have Cherry Hill Driver Road here, so we're kind of trapping in the children, and they don't really, this road, they have to come in and out and in and out, and on this one, the backyards of the homes on part of Rochester Road, the same thing, they're gonna have Rochester Road, and their children are gonna have that road. They're gonna have road in the front, road in the back, and that's not healthy for the children, because even in these cranberry bogs, the gentleman who passed away, who owned these, loved to see the kids fish in this little pond here, and just snapping turtles there, and it was just, everything. He just let them play. That was a big cement block there that says no trespassing, but the family that owned it before, they loved to see the kids riding bikes here, fish here. So I don't understand why variance would be allowed through wetlands. They should be protected lands. And I thought that was the role of the Conservation Commission. But as I spoke to a resident in Carver, and we've been here for almost 20 years, it seems to me like many residents in this area believe there's a huge conflict of interest because the town administrator is a consultant now, and he's still being paid by the town of Carver, but he's a CEO of John Crispoli's company, one of his companies. And Edaville Land Holdings is owned by John Crispoli. So I see why the neighbors are saying there's a conflict of interest, or he said to them, you'll get a variance, buy the property, you'll receive a variance. I don't know. I don't know, but that's what I'm getting from people who've lived here way longer than we have. That this name, John Crispoli, comes up, the town administrator's name is coming up as being the CEO of one of his companies. He steps down, but still being paid by the town, full salary, and he's a consultant. And I know that seems odd, but it seems to tie someplace in here that there's some back roads of deception. And I don't know, but something seems suspicious. It seems suspicious.
Well,
Mr. Chairman.
I don't believe a variance should be allowed.
I have to tell you, and another reason why I'm abstaining also is that Michael Malinowski and I are good friends. Good friends in the respect that when he worked here for the town as the town administrator, and I sit as the chair on the finance committee, I talk to him often. He has yet, to this moment in time, brought up this project. I knew he's never said, I get to give the credit where the credit is due. I bashed you, Brenda, tonight about condition of Edaville, so, you know, there's a flip side to that coin. That knife cuts both ways also. He's never said one word to me. To the best of my knowledge, he has never said one word to anyone on this board. Art, and I think very highly of Art Borden, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for him. He has not contacted anyone about this, so I want to make that extremely clear, honestly and truly. This is no backroom deal. This is a case of John Della Priscoli's company. They're in the business of developing property. They look at a piece of property, and they find 37 different ways to skin a cat, which is what every developer does. I had a house in Rockland that I had a strip of land that was 18 feet long and went for a half a mile in order for me to get what I needed to have, what the builder needed to have for square footage of a lot. It was land you could never ever use, but on a piece of paper it looked great. Everybody had fingers running out of their backyards, and it was just to make it work on paper. That's what this is. So you got to give it the credit where the credit is due. There was no back room. There was no go ahead and buy this property and wink, wink, you're all set with a variance and we can make it happen and please, there's none of that. I know the reason why they bought this land. They bought this land because they could not own the 1 acre lot that was inside of the park. This is the way it is. It's his choice to try to develop it. It's this board's commitment to conservation as to whether we want to allow this kind of construction around and in and around these bogs. As much as we would love to listen to the impact this has, and I understand, on you personally, unless it involves a wetlands issue, our hands are tied. But you do have, should this board vote yes and grant the variance, you have the right to appeal that to the DEP. But should this board vote no, they have the right to appeal it. So either way, it doesn't mean it's over. And if nothing else has to go before the planning board, I agree with you. I think that once this goes in and there's 2 houses sharing 1 driveway and we got one guy who has a plow and one guy who sits in his fanny and watches the snow fly, so you can go plow your own driveway, which I happen to benefit from. This is where the problems come in, and usually those things don't work out real good unless a family buys the 2 houses together. So, best of luck. Personally, I would never share a driveway with anybody, but that's me.
There's a couple of things that I want to point out. I hear everything you're saying, and you know, I understand. You know, no one wants to be impacted at their home and their property that they've lived in and devoted so much time and expense to. For the most part, these are driveways. They're not roads. It's not as though all of a sudden there's going to be traffic going 24 hours a day. These are driveways going to 2 homes each. So, you know, even on a busy day, maybe there are 10 or 20 trips in and out a day. It's not as if it's a highway. The roads, for the most part, and we did a site walk today, the roads that are going to become the driveways are already existing bog roads. So it's not, for the most part, 90% of them are existing roads. They're just going to be, instead of being dirt, which they are now, they're going to be done with reprocessed gravel, which is pervious. Water goes through it, so it's not going to change the effects of water getting into the soil. If you look at the, does that have the property lines on it? It does. Okay. This entire parcel is being split up into between the 4 house lots. It's not as though the bog area is still being owned by Edaville. So your argument that it won't be maintained, if it's not maintained, those people can't get out of their house. And they own it. They own the property all the way to Pine Street. It's not that they have to go across Edaville property to get out. So the maintenance issue, if they don't maintain it, it's on them. And that's their problem. But it has nothing to do with Edaville holding, because they're not going to be holding it anymore. It's going to be privately owned by these 4 homeowners. So as far as a variance is concerned, we are issuing variances primarily for them to, in effect, upgrade the existing bog roads to make it more accessible to the house lots that are outside of our jurisdiction, and to allow for the upgrade of 2 existing culverts that are right where they say they are, and the installation of 3 new culverts on the south end of the property. That's all we're being asked to do tonight. I can say that if Edaville Holding didn't, if the gentleman who owned these bogs beforehand had decided to do this on his own as part of his ability to harvest his cranberries. He would have been able to do that without any kind of input from anybody, because he would have gone under agricultural rules, which means that he would not have had to come in front of conservation. Now, this is slightly different, I'll grant you that, but this is not, we're not cutting through virgin forests to make brand new roads. These roads exist. They're cranberry bog roads that are right around the perimeter of the existing bogs for the most part. The only place that they go back is on lots 3 and 4 and a little bit on lot 1. But for the rest of it, we walked it today. The roads exist. You can drive a car almost around the entire bog right now. So that's my take on what we have here. It's not as invasive as some people are making it out to be. These are existing things that need to be improved in order to reach the home lots. I understand your grievance about the homes being built as close as they are to your properties. Unfortunately, that is not what we rule on here. That's outside of our, there's 100-foot, that 100-foot line that you see, anything outside that, we have nothing to say about it. I mean, we can have our opinions, but we can't rule on anything that happens outside that. So I don't know what I would suggest. There are planning board rules that they have abided by and in order to do this. Maybe there's go to a select board meeting, talk to somebody on the select board, maybe try to get something on a town meeting warrant to change the way things are done. But the way it is right now, and that it's not going to reverse what's done, because this has been done based on the laws as they are today. And that's, once it's approved based on today's laws, that can't be changed. But it may help others in the future. So.
Why do the bylaws say then that variances are intended to be granted only in rare and unusual cases, and that the Conservation Commission is here to protect the wetlands interest?
We haven't voted on it yet, but this is an improvement to an existing road that is there. This is not brand new construction. In my opinion, it does not affect the existing ecosystem. None of the changes that they're asking here for will affect the ecosystem. It's not going to change the water table. It's not going to change the height of the road, the height of the bog.
You can't say that.
Yeah, how do
You can't say that.
I can say what I think, and that's what I said.
Right.
That's not fair.
Why not?
Well, there's wetlands back there. There's wooded wetlands that have water in it certain times of the year. And you're saying that it's not going to affect it.
Yes.
That's almost like swaying a judgment.
You can't say that it's not going to have an impact.
You don't know. And I'm sorry to say, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
No, I get that. I get that. They are not delineated in the plan as being wetlands. Therefore, we have no say over it. So the fact that you say it's wet back there, and I'm not doubting you for a second that it's wet back there, but they do not meet the criteria of being wetlands, in which case they are outside.
In its existing state, as soon as foundations go in, then it could affect us.
It is still outside of our 100 feet.
Right.
It is not our jurisdiction. We cannot say tonight, don't build the houses, don't put in the foundation.
Saying that this was a due. This was basically approved before this meeting, and this is the only access to this project that we had.
What was
This
approved?
is a subdivision in disguise.
He said the A&R, they were never informed.
Oh, the A&R was approved. Well,
And we'll take it up with the DEP.
You could certainly, it takes a citizen's petition to get something on the warrant for fall town meeting, and you could put a petition in for the zoning bylaws that any A&Rs require the abutters be notified of the A&R.
And I apologize for any outbursts.
No.
By me and anybody else, and we know this is If I hope that you vote on it. Mr. Chair, if I make a comment?
Yes.
I'm not going to bring up the driveway issue again, other than to say that I just want to publicly let everyone know that this is a volunteer committee where we have a mandate to put blinders on, as it were, and focus on what is within our purview to vote yes or no on, based on the rules dictated by the state and town bylaws. With that said, being residents, we can take the blinders off, as it were, to think about the ramifications of a yes or no vote, how that may affect things that aren't listed here yet. We don't know what's going to what the utility installment plan is, but that's not up to us to decide on that.
Right.
You know, if later it comes down that they want to do some digging and have those underground lines, then I think we would have something to say, because that would go right through wetlands. And there would be, I'm sorry?
We would have to come back for that one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that would be something that we would address that then. It wouldn't be, we're not opening the, excuse the term, we're not opening the floodgates, as it were, by saying yes or no with this, because there are stages of decision making. It's sort of like a choose your own fate novel. You know, there's a decision tree here to be made down the line as well. So, but to be clear, our duties are finite.
I
Okay.
appreciate the service, and I'm sorry for the
No apologies necessary. Just want to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Listen, I had an outburst too, I'm sorry, Brenda. Brenda and I have an understanding.
All right, are there any other comments from anyone?
After the vote, we can have some s'mores.
Regarding the variances, I just want to make sure that, again, I come back to this, it's written on carvermass.gov, the variances are intended only to be for rare and unusual cases, and it seems to me like the Conservation Commission Committee, which is volunteers, should be advocating always to save those wetlands, always to save those wetlands. And all I'm talking about is these variances in and around the wetlands. It seems to me like the Conservation Commission should be advocating, you know, the wetlands interest. Obviously, the land cannot speak, but it seems sometimes that no one's advocating for these wetlands anymore. And, you know, maybe like you said, builders, they presume they're going to receive a variance through the wetlands, and the Conservation Commission, maybe we need to just be stronger at advocating for them, because that area, when I look on the Massachusetts Interactive Property Map, it's becoming congested here, and here's this nice spot of wetlands right over here, and we have houses and houses and houses, and that's such a beautiful area where the kids play in the bogs, the pond. It'd be quite sad to see two roads,
She's
or
right.
whatever they're called, go through. But thank you very much.
We can't.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just say one more thing?
Yes.
I'm not sure if this is going to help or not help, but we are not building those houses. Those lots are all going to be sold individually. So if somebody wanted to buy them, they could buy them. We are not going to own them, and we are not going to build them. They are going to be put up for sale. And I know a couple of neighbors have called interested in the sale of them. So I'm not sure if that helps or hurts, but just so you know, we're not building them.
All right. Anyone else?
Make a motion, we close the hearing for Pine Street, Edaville Holdings, NOI DEP 126603.
All right, we have a motion to close the hearing. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and second to close the hearing on NOI DEP SC 126-603. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None?
No.
No? You don't want to close the hearing? Okay.
Oh, yes, yes. Sorry.
All right. So it's unanimous, 4-0 to close the hearing. All right. Now, I will entertain a motion to grant the variance.
Does anybody like to speak up and verbalize that variance?
Well, the variance would be
For the work within the 65.
to the work that's shown on the plan in front of us with conditions put forth by the agent, conservation agent.
And motion to approve that.
We just need a motion first.
You're abstaining, right, Alan?
You're
Sorry?
Yeah,
You're
Alan's
you're
abstaining.
So you're not voting.
I could make the motion and still abstain, but
Yes,
Oh.
yes, you could do that. I'll make the motion.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to grant the variance on the plan as shown.
we have to approve the NOI first, and then we grant the variance as a separate motion. Have we done that in the past?
Well, it doesn't matter either way, because the variance is part of the order of conditions, which comes, or part of the notice of intent.
Okay.
So they're all kind of one thing.
Mm.
In other words, you couldn't have the project if you didn't grant the variance, and you couldn't have the project if you didn't,
Right.
approve the NOI, so.
I'd
so they're
rather
really
approve the
one and the
NOI
same.
and grant the variance separate, because we can include in the variance the order of conditions, if we want to define them clearer. That's just
All right, you want to do it that way?
That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, it's all in the order of conditions, and anyway, but you're right, you typically would do the order first and then the
Yeah,
variance.
you
but-
would approve the NOI, and then you.
Right.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the NOI for DEPSC 126-603.
Second.
Who's made the motion?
Well, Jim-
Oh, I thought you just made the motion.
No, I can't.
I'll move it. Okay.
All right, Jim made the motion, Dan seconded
For the NOI.
for the NOI.
Okay.
All in favor of issuing the NOI? Say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
No.
No, all right.
One abstention.
And one abstention. 2-1-1. All right, now I will entertain a motion to grant the variance for the work to be done within the 65-foot buffer zone as shown on the plans in front of us with conditions given by our agent.
I'll move that.
All right, we need a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to grant the variance.
You want to define the order of conditions
Yeah, do you want to
within that?
What's that?
define the order of conditions for the variance?
So, the variance, well, you always, in the order of conditions, I always put, that part of this order, the variance has been issued, so that becomes like a condition in
Yes,
the order.
but the rest of the conditions where, this lady mentioned something about the width of the driveway is on the edge of the property, so it's going to have to be on the bog side, not.
Yeah. Well, and you were gonna revise the one, you were gonna revise one of the locations of the culverts, right? Was that gonna be a revision on the plan?
It was the westerlymost culvert, yeah.
Yeah, wasn't there one that was gonna be
Yeah,
moved a little?
First one we went in.
Yeah. So basically, by, the order of conditions will approve what's on the plan, it'll approve, they're gonna be doing erosion controls, they'll contact me when the erosion controls go up.
Signs.
Yeah, signs, we can do the posts, yeah, yeah.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to grant the variance. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No?
No.
All right,
And I abstain.
and so it's, the variance is not granted.
So there's no project.
There's no nothing. It's a 1-2-1, Marion?
I mean, if you don't grant the
1-5,
variance,
2 against.
then the project won't, you
Okay.
can't have the project.
Silly.
All right,
I abstain for the reasons that I said. I have no idea what my brothers chose to do.
So basically, the project's been denied.
The variance is not
Because,
issued.
right, so if you, right, so if they don't issue the variance, then there's no water conditions, because
Okay.
everything's in 65.
Yeah,
Okay, okay,
Okay.
okay.
Next.
So,
Still some work to be done.
yeah.
Right. So they,
All right. So
So moving on.
that's that,
yep,
right? Okay.
I did, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
they can revise the plan and come back.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think you could do the project and stay out of the 65. It'd be impossible. So they can't really revise it. I mean, unless they went with the one driveway instead, then it might be, be less impact. But Martha doesn't seem to think that would work with,
I would never tell them how to do their business.
right?
Is there any more items?
No, that's,
Seems to be it.
Any new
that's
business?
it. All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
It's been moved and seconded
Thank you.
to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.